the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard, live with you in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Very busy and action-packed 3-hour program lined up. Bottom of this hour, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian had a great week last week with player props. He'll tell us who he likes this week in the divisional round. Best bets in soccer with Steve Wiss. Preview of the national title game with Brad Powers and UFC 311 with Lou Finocchiaro. In a couple of minutes, I'll tell you about something that's only happening for the 5th time as of right now in the last 29 years, this round in the NFL. And the overall landscape, Pauly, of this sport is going to be changing soon. Roger Goodell, we're close to getting, 8 international games played in the regular season next year? And 5 of them, I think, are already scheduled. And back in November, Goodell actually said that he wants to play 16 games internationally, and he wants to expand to 18 regular season games overall within the next 5 years. So as long as, the playoffs don't expand too much more, right, you can't be adding, an 8th, 9th, 10th team like some of these other sports. I would actually argue maybe we have one too many already right now in both conferences. But this is like a trial basis we've had for a couple of years. Keep it now, right, in the playoffs?
Yeah. So there's 55 games around the world. They could do up to 8 in 2025. Yesterday they announced the Colts are the home team in Berlin. We're not sending them our best stuff, right? Jets and Browns are the home teams at Tottenham Stadium. Jacksonville, of course, at Wembley. There's going to be a game at Madrid also. So that's 5. Can they get to 8? What's the appropriate number? I like the 6:30 games. But that's also a long day for people with a family, East Coast, West Coast, where you're getting up that early or you're staying up that late if you're getting up on a big deal on the East Coast. But what's the right mix? If he wants to go forget 8,
if there's going to be one per week?
Yeah, think about that. That's football the whole day.
Even at 8, it's one every other week. Yeah. Unless they would do a double header somehow or go 2 games at the same time, which I don't think they would ever get into.
I think 8's a good number.
I think 8 probably seems accurate because then, again, if you go to 16 at some point, okay, first of all, the good news is that's an all-day 14-hour betting fest, which can go really, really well or can go completely sideways. And then you're exactly right. How do you box out, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time until 11:30 p.m.? So essentially 14 straight hours of football? I mean, I love it. I think it's great. But how does that affect a normal person with a wife and a couple of kids? And I got 6 hours maybe to spend all day watching the NFL.
Right. And then if he continues to do this, does he want to put a team over there? That's the other thing.
That would make the most sense, I would think, right?
Yeah, if there's 1 or 2 teams in London, if you want to do it more than 8 times. But I think, back to your earlier question, I think the right number is 18 games, add another bye week, and we stretch this out a couple more weeks too.
Well, if they
or
go
you
to
can
18,
start it a week earlier.
They absolutely must go to 2 bye weeks per team.
Mm-hmm.
It's mandatory. If they don't, that'll be a huge whiff, and everybody will probably hate that. But you go to 18, 2 regular season byes, and then you can play the season basically from, the weekend after Labor Day all the way into President's Day in February. That's the plan.
Yeah. But you also have to be worried about, and they talk out both sides of their mouth, but you got to be worried about player safety too, which they talked about for years, and now they keep adding games. But the other thing was, game was canceled at Mexico City because of the field, and then there were concerns about the Brazil game too.
All right.
So when you're going over there, you better know what you're getting into. London's no problem, but some of these other games have been canceled or guys slipping and sliding. We've had issues too. So that would come to mind if you're talking about the Madrid game, which we don't know the home team there either. But the other thing is, when you're doing this, at least send them some good options, right?
Once in a while, yeah.
Right? You got Tampa one year to Germany, but Colts, Jets, Browns, Jacksonville are your 4 home teams.
Who's next? Raiders on the list at some point? Just go to the bottom feeders, Tennessee. Want to put them over there?
Yeah, well, that's just arrogance saying no matter who we send over there, it'll get a big reaction or reception and it'll sell out anyways. But at least give them something.
Right.
I mean, what were we stuck here with? Giants, Carolina was one of the games.
That was one of the games. Went to overtime.
Yeah, right.
But
bad teams, though. I mean, give them something.
For the most part.
Yeah.
On to the games this weekend. So this is what I was talking about 2 minutes ago. We've only had 4 road favorites in the last 28 years of the divisional playoffs. I remember this game San Francisco went to Carolina, beat them up pretty good, 23-10. That's when they went to Seattle to play in the NFC title game, and it came down to that tip pass by Richard Sherman. Then he's calling out Crabtree after the end of the game. Epic finish. The other three lost outright and ATS as well. And here at Circa, it's a pick-em between Baltimore and Buffalo on Sunday night. Every other spot basically has Baltimore favored by 1 or 1.5 on the road, but only 5. This is only the 5th time now in 29 years, which is pretty nuts when you stop and think about it. Although, again, we used to have two teams with a bye, and so I guess it would make a little bit of sense. Anything here? We're looking at Steve Makinen's numbers at VSiN.com. It's a lengthy read, great numbers he can pull out. What stands out to you, Pauly, when you look at how this has gone in the divisional round over the years?
There's been a significant performance difference in home-road dichotomy based upon the day of the weekend. On Saturdays, home teams have gone 25-5 straight up, and they're 67% ATS the last 15 seasons. Again, that big advantage, I'm fresh, you're coming in, it's a Saturday, and that sticks out big time.
I think there might be something to that, right?
Especially Washington.
That's the thing.
With what they have to overcome. Sunday road game in Detroit rested Saturday. Yep.
Exactly right.
On Sundays, road teams have performed much better. 18-20 straight up, they are 67% ATS since 2006. Last weekend, Wild Card article had the similar trends, but both of this year's Saturday teams went outright in ATS. So that's the breakdown he has with that. That makes a lot of sense. And then the other one, remember he said the outright winner is 37-12-1 ATS in the last 50 divisional playoff games, tied into what he had last week. Wild Card article, just pick the team that's going to win the game. They cover the spread. 86% ATS run, and they went 6-0 ATS last weekend. This also, if you win, you cover 75% the last 50 divisional games. So how many games will the point spread come into play out of these 4? And I don't think maybe it's just going to be all these teams by margin, or we just get shock the world upsets. But that has been strong going back, too.
That one's very difficult, though, because then it's a lot easier said than done. Just picking the winner outright. Then you got to nail the teams that win it outright as a dog, and then you got to be comfortable with, these teams that are laying big points and saying no problem, they're going to get there, although that's been a thing in the NFL going back a good, 9-10 weeks now. Double-digit home favorites. We don't have one right now. I don't think Detroit will get back to 10. Could be wrong on that. But if they do, double-digit home favorites in this round are 8-1 straight up and 75% ATS. Tennessee's upset of Baltimore in 2019 is the only outright loss in that group. They had more than 500 yards of offense in that game, but every high-leverage spot went against them, and Tennessee upset them on the road. Road teams in the divisional round, when they're in the plus 3.5 to 9.5 range, are 26-17-1 ATS the last 44 games. That is 60.5%. Straight up 14-30. But Houston plus 8.5 and the Ram plus 6. As he writes, will look to extend the point spread angle in 2025. Houston on the road, Rams on the road. But you don't like the Texans, and don't give them much of a chance here.
Right. The one thing I also think will continue is you have to score. So what he wrote about last week and was on the website, it takes more points to win the divisional playoff round as opposed to the wild card round. Only 5 home teams that topped the 20-point mark lost in the last 23 years of wild card playoff action. 6-0 straight up in ATS last week. The benchmark for this round is 27 points. Home teams that reach that point total, 43-5 straight up, 73% ATS since 2002. Both covers in 2024. Well, here we look what we have, though. I mean, look who's playing. All big-time teams with usually good quarterbacks that figure to be able to score, right? So I would absolutely just think that you're not going to win if you score 20 points. You got to do better than that. Now let me ask you about the rust factor, because this is also historic what's going on with Kansas City. Mahomes hasn't thrown the ball since Christmas. So the last 2 years, remember what happened 2 years ago? Tennessee shocked. 1 seed, lost Green Bay, lost 1 seed, horrible special teams, came back to bite them. Last year, 49ers, very rusty. Could have lost that game, should have lost that game.
Yeah.
And it kind of similarities maybe to this Washington game I'll get to later. Ravens also rusty. They were trailed at halftime before blowing out the Texans. So does that come into play with what I think the bye was beneficial for Detroit? You're getting guys back.
I think so,
but
too.
We'll see. Andy Reid, nothing phases him. Nothing phases Mahomes. But he hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas.
Well, plus the Lions had that massive game in Week 18 they had to have.
Yeah, right.
To get the bye week. So they just played basically. It's not even going to be a 2-week layoff for them because that was a Sunday. Now this game is going to be a Saturday. For the Chiefs, it's a lot longer than that.
Right. So if I want the dog, I would play first half there, based on the rust factor, especially with the Chiefs that we've seen 2 years in a row.
It's almost going to be a month, yeah?
Yeah.
Because of the Christmas Day.
You didn't play in one week
game,
18.
And then the week 18, they meant nothing for them, and they wanted to sit the guys.
Yeah.
I recall, trust me, 2011 Green Bay like it was yesterday.
No, yes, so many examples.
15-1 in the final game of the regular season. Sat everybody. Matt Flynn lit up Detroit. They scored like 48 points. Best team in football. Defending champs. They crushed everybody. Had all that time off. Here come the Giants into Lambeau. Games Hail Mary completed at halftime. Turned the game off. Mm-hmm. It was over with.
Yep. And they even got Brady one year when he was 14-2. Yeah. And that year they throttled the Jets at home on Monday Night Football. We're back tomorrow. Sirius XM Channel 158. Get ready for 24/7 sports betting coverage. Sirius XM app. All the insights, analysis, and picks you need to stay ahead of the game. And we've also launched a new show for Sirius XM listeners, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Maher and Dustin catch it every weeknight from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. That's on Channel 82. So we debut tomorrow. Sirius XM Channel 158, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Ian Eagle, Derek Stevens, Sal Pal, Mike Somich to ring it in.
There you go. Excellent news, and that discussion will lead us into player props for the divisional round up next. Going to dive into some quarterback rushing yards, right? It's the playoffs. These guys are going to take off more than normal. Well, you're paying a heavy tax on it. I'll explain that coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up on the show, it is a Football Friday, heading into the divisional round of the National Football League playoffs. You know what that means. Chris Felica, the Bear from Fox Sports, and Steve Fezzik, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Super Contest, in studio to talk all things divisional round, all of his bets, and of course more. More could be anything. Jim Miller, host of Moving the Chains on Sirius XM, will join us as well. All our NFL bets and another exciting edition of Are We Sure? Numbers game, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here at VSiN.
So, Pauly, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Pauly, I think a lot of public bettors this week are going to tell themselves, well, it's the playoffs. I can recall Patrick Mahomes taking off more than usual come postseason play. I'm going to love betting him with his rushing yards over. Lamar, no problem. Josh Allen, of course, he's going to run for more than what the books are offering. We can go on because we have a bunch of mobile quarterbacks in this round. It did not go well for you in the first round, yeah?
No, yes, correct. Shocked that Herbert, he never took off after he had a big game against the Raiders.
Yep.
And it started to scramble once the ankle felt better. And my handicap was every yard matters, pick it up. And there were several chances for him, and he wouldn't do it. And he was just off and wasn't himself in that game. But I had the wrong guy because Stroud had 6 for 42. You know, Baker did it. That's part of his game, 7 of 23. Daniels had 36. Hurts had 6 for 36. Nix had 43. Allen had 46. Lamar, see, that was awesome. If they're going to run their offense like that, even without Flowers, good luck. Because how are you going to stop that? With the design runs, if I can put it in Henry's belly, he's going to get it.
He ran the ball 5 straight times.
I know. You couldn't stop it, right? But then, remember, he took the hit to the back. They're going up and down the field. He got hit on the back. They were working on him on the sideline. Then they dialed it back, and then they didn't use it till late in the game when they needed him. But if I have him with the design plays, and he had 15 for 81, and then what I have with Henry, you can't stop that rushing attack. And then, I got the tight ends I can hit too with the play action.
Right. I know Buffalo's defense, they have a couple of guys back this week that were not there for the first game. I don't know if it's going to matter or not because the Ravens on the ground are so good. That combination of Henry and Lamar and that a 13-play drive right down the Steelers' throats.
All runs.
They just basically said, you can't stop it, so we're not even going to attempt one single pass right now.
Right, and how can you? If I'm going to get at least 4 carries or 3 yards, from Henry, and then 4th and 1, I can go Andrews tush push. Yeah. You can't stop it. I got beat with Wilson though too. He only 3 for 6, right?
Right.
I mean, it was there for him as well, and that was a guy I think he would scramble and try to pick up 14, 15 yards on one run.
All right, so here's the breakdown of what we currently have for quarterback rushing yards this week. Patrick Mahomes is number right around 23.5. It might actually be a little bit higher than that. 18 career playoff games. He has 9 overs, 9 unders to that number, to 23.5. He's had 40 plus 6 times. His median number out of 18 games is 24. But again, when you look at that number that he has this week against the Texans defense, go back and look at the last 10 games where his rushing yards prop closed. The highest one was 21.5, and that was against Buffalo on the road when we were expecting a big shootout and a high total. This game does not have that same number, but he had an 8.5 for his prop. That was against Houston. Now, he went over that, no problem. He had 33, but his prop was around 12.5, 17.5, 16.5, a bunch of games. Nowhere near 23.5 or 24.5. So, again, it's the postseason, and so you are paying a tax on a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Here's another guy. Josh Allen, 11 career playoff games. He's been over this number 8 times, which is strong. The median is 66. Very good. He averaged 33 yards per game this season. The prop this week is about 45.5. Again, going back, it was 43.5 against Denver, playoff game. The Detroit game was 41.5 in the regular season, but that's because the Lions, again, super high-scoring game with the total. And the Lions, we can expand on this later on, they are horrible against mobile quarterbacks. Yeah. Josh Allen had a low water mark of 24.5 for a rushing yard prop in his last 10 games. Now you got to go over 45.5 or 46.5. It's a massive number. The Jaden Daniels number is between 53.5 and 56.5. He had 36 against Tampa Bay. Yeah. 891 in the regular season. We'll call it 52.5 on average, although he got hurt in one of those games and he didn't play the full game against the Cowboys. It was 54.5 playoff game against Tampa, stayed under. But he had games in the last 10 that were as low as 37.5, 38.5. They did creep up there against, bad teams like the Giants. But again, this is his highest number in at least 3 months for Jaden Daniels. So it's all factored in. It's all baked in, and they're making you go over the top for, especially the mobile guys. Jalen Hurts is 38.5. He averaged 42 yards per game on the ground in the regular season. He's averaged 37.2 in the postseason.
Mahomes is great when he ad-libs, and he can just run one off, and seems like he does it all the time.
That's
for
when you
20
love
yards.
the guy. Yeah.
Right, in playoff time. But with Lamar and Allen, it's design plays that I have to have on a package on 3rd and 3.
Yeah, how many designed are for Mahomes?
They're not.
They're not.
But with Lamar and Allen, that's a big part of the game plan, and it has to be short yardage just because what kind of a weapon they're going to be. Then the other thing, though, is with Hurts, one shot and he's out. I mean, that's risky business, and he had 6 for 36 against the Packers, but you don't want him taking a shot, and then you're looking at Pickett. So, and then your numbers are right in how bad it's been Detroit against mobile quarterbacks too.
Well,
so
I will say this about
good.
Lamar Jackson. 7 career playoff games, 81 is the median rushing yards number, which is astronomical, right? 34 is the low, 143 is the high, 86 yards per game. He averaged in the regular season 53 plus. This year, his number is 52.5. But again, you go back, last 10 games, 51.5 was out there against Pittsburgh. But it was consistently low to mid-40s for his rushing yards prop. And in this game, total in the 50s against Josh Allen. It's going to be a shootout, right? You got it. It's 52.5, which I think for him it's easily doable. I actually want to ladder that guy, but 52.5 doesn't give you much value on going 60, 70, 80 plus. Just doesn't.
Yeah. How about the statues? Goff and Stafford.
Goff is 1.5, 9 career playoff games, 0 yards in 3 of those games, -3 in one of them, but over 1.5 in the other 5. And Stafford is 0.5 yard over this number in 6 of his 9 career playoff games. Stroud's the guy you might want to look at. It's 14.5.
Mm-hmm.
He had 42 against the Chargers, like you talked about. 9 versus Baltimore last year. Only 1 versus the Browns. Again, when you look at how high this number is compared to previous games, it's much higher. It was 12.5 last week. Okay, but his was between 8.5 and like 11.5 for most of the season. 15.5 again against Detroit, because here are the numbers overall. This is incredible from our buddy Point Shaver 13, Tony. If you go back and look at the numbers for mobile quarterbacks, this year alone, Baker Mayfield, 34 and a touchdown. Kyler Murray had 45. Sam Darnold had 4 for 39. He's not very mobile. Mason Rudolph had 4 for 29 and a touchdown. Richardson had 51. Caleb Williams, 4 for 39. Josh Allen, 11 for 68. Purdy ran for 12 yards and 1 touchdown. Last year, it was worse. Purdy in the playoffs ran for 48. Jalen Hurts, 17 for 90 and a touchdown. Danny Dimes, 7 for 50. You get my point. All these guys have had huge games against the Lions that are mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah. I know you're going to hit the tight ends as well. I have 2 observations on these props. The Kansas City game and the Baltimore game for who will have the most receiving yards in the game. I think you could see a Hawkinson-type ticket cash.
I agree.
He was 15-1 on Monday night. Because you now have Hopkins, you have Brown, you're healthy now, and it's win or go home, and the stars come out. I would think with what Mahomes has and all these weapons, I can't get there with Kelsey. And why Nico might be the guy who eats and has a big game for Houston, I think you could see a big ticket cash with some of these guys in that matchup. And also KC's horrendous against tight ends. Maybe Schultz has enough. But the same thing with Baltimore and the Bills. So the Baltimore had 300 yards rushing last week. The Bills had 200. It's the 7th playoff meeting ever where both teams average 30 a game. There's so many guys on the field here with weapons or big playability. Like even maybe a Samuel could shock the world. And you have issues covering tight ends too. So this could be a Likely, an Andrews, a Samuel. So I would think you could get a big ticket that cashes for most receiving yards in both AFC games.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are on Mechie this week. Want to get nuts with John Mechie? That's got to be a huge number on him.
Yes.
I'll give you another one, and it's the Rams and Eagles game. Rams are awful against tight ends. We'll expand on that coming up. But Goddard, he scored a touchdown last week. Hawkinson had a great game against the Rams defense. He scored. He led that game in receiving yards at 15-1. Maybe this is another big game out of Dallas Goedert here.
More play calling like that. It's easy. It's a simple throw. He gets in a rhythm, gets the confidence up, and let him get some yak.
Yeah.
That was so easy.
I don't know if you want... I know, the Eagles have a great offensive line. Mike Palm said on his way out of the show yesterday, he thinks the offensive line will hold up and dominate the Rams' defensive line. He thinks they're going to have a field day against them. They're too young, and the O-line is too good for the Eagles. But if they can cover the wide receivers and make Hurts scramble, and then they can't hold up, he takes a couple of shots back there. You got to be afraid of that if you're Philadelphia. The secondary has to be huge in that game.
Yep. I think they'll get to Stafford, though, too. They were excellent against, but Green Bay was banged up with the O-line. In sports betting and trading, understanding probability, the ultimate game changer. Unlock the secrets of high probability trading with Todd Bubba Horowitz, former floor trader and seasoned sports bettor with over 45 years of experience. BubbaTrading.com/VSiN. Go up there today. Promo code VSiN500 to save $500. Don't miss your chance to sharpen your strategy and gain the edge in your in-game trading. BubbaTrading.com/VSiN, promo code VSiN500.
More player props this weekend with Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. Had a great week in the wild card round. I know that he has an opinion on Dallas Goedert. Find out what it is coming up here on VSiN.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More player props here. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian makes his weekly appearance. He's on the Progressive Guest line off of a great appearance last week. And, he's probably still hurting a little bit from what happened to his beloved Minnesota Vikings on Monday night, Charch. Or are you over that by now?
No, I'm still actively processing the loss right now. And I've got a variety of symptoms: upset stomach, dizziness, dry mouth, hives, constipation, insomnia, drowsiness, blood in my stool, and tinnitus.
That's a typical Tuesday, though, for you, I think, right? From all the medication that you're on anyway.
Yeah, if you're a Vikings fan, it is.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty much weekly for us. Yeah, so it was so Viking, right? To set all kinds of new records for new ways to lose. It's what we do here in Minnesota. And here's the thing: you run into a Minnesota Viking fan, that's true fandom right there. You have no doubt that that's somebody who has gone through the ringer and is certainly not just somebody who's jumping on a bandwagon. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you weren't surprised for a second.
No, I thought the Rams would win. I was worried it'd go exactly this way with another Sam Darnold meltdown. The interior of the offensive line's terrible. Sam made bad decisions, and the whole thing blew up. Yeah, it's and the defense didn't play a half bad game, but the whole thing really shifted on that super questionable call about whether or not Matthew Stafford was throwing forward or if it should have been an interception, touchdown, pick six for Blake Cashman. And that would have been a tie game right there. And maybe this thing would have ended differently, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What do they do now?
J.J. McCarthy's your starting Vikings quarterback. I think it's an absolute done deal. Sam Darnold will be elsewhere. I think he lost no less than $150 million in 8 days.
Oh, come on.
He was sitting on no less than $40 million a year times 4 years, and maybe more than that if there could have been a bidding war between Pittsburgh and the Giants and the Raiders. Had he just played to form through the playoffs, and instead he'll have to battle. It might be backup money or like the kind of money the kind of thing where he has to win the job and get some accelerations in his contract. He might be looking at a 1 year, 10, 15, $20 million deal now.
Absolutely brutal.
That's
okay,
strong.
So in that game, Hawkinson led everybody in receiving yards, which was 15-1, by the way. And Dallas Goedert is coming off of a really nice game against Green Bay. Rams are bad against tight ends, so I'm guessing this is going to be a Dallas Goedert game.
Yep, we're going to go over 35.5 and over 3.5 receptions for Dallas Goedert. I think any lingering concerns about his knee injury disappeared with that amazing touchdown last week. I don't think I've ever seen a defender get stiff-armed 3 different times on the same play. Oh, that was awesome.
Yep.
I will note, just at the outset, Goddard did go under this line against the Rams in Week 12, but the Rams have gotten a lot worse against tight ends since then. In the final 5 weeks of the regular season, the Rams ranked dead last in yards allowed to tight ends, 76 per game. Ooh. That's double what we need from Goddard. And over those same final 5 games, LA allowed the 3rd most tight end receptions, 7 per game. Again, double what we need from Goddard. And Goddard gets like all the tight end targets, right? There's really not anybody else that when Goddard is healthy that's going to step up and take tight end targets away from him. Rams didn't play their starters in Week 18, but I'll note that the backups there got smoked by Seattle's tight ends. But then we just back up a little bit. Week 17 against LA, the Rams gave up 12 catches and 123 yards to Trey McBride. Week 16 against LA, the Jets' anonymous tight ends put up 71. And the week before that, George Kittle, 61 yards. I love the over 35.5 and over 3.5 receptions, Dallas Goedert.
Excellent breakdown. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Paul Charchian, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer. He is on the Progressive Guest line. 2 running backs, same game. What do you want to do with Samaje Perine for the Chiefs? And on the flip side, Joe Mixon for the Texans.
This is probably my favorite prop that I'm going to give you today is the Samaje Perine over 8.5 receiving yards. That's all. If you don't know, Perine is the designated passing down back for the Chiefs. On Kansas City's long down and distance situations, Isaiah Pacheco has only been on the field for a total of 2 snaps since his return in Week 13. And for Kareem Hunt in long down and distance situations, he's only been on the field a total of 2 snaps all year. All the rest of the snaps in long down and distance all go to Samaje Perine, who's been on the field for 162 snaps in long down and distance situations. And Pirine has topped this line 8.5 yards, 7 straight games and 12 of the last 13 games. And Pirine's average game since week 5 through the air is 23 receiving yards. I need 8.5 here. So, and on the Houston side of this, they've allowed an opposing back to top this line in 15 of 18 games. There are so many trends for the over here that it just feels like a slam dunk on the over 8.5 receiving yards.
That is outstanding.
Yes.
And then Mixon, you want to go under rushing yards?
Yeah. So for Mixon, I do want to go under here. His line 58.5 rushing yards. This line mirrors his output against Kansas City from the Week 16 game. He ran for 57 yards. Now, here's what you need to know. When Mixon flops, he flops hard. And he's been held to under 26 rushing yards, less than half what we need here, for the past 7 games. 11 different times this year, Kansas City has held the opposition's number 1 runner to under the line. And 9 different times this year, Kansas City's held the opposition's number 1 runner to under 36 yards. You know, it's half their games, and it's way under this line. Now, earlier this year, Mixon was Houston's workhorse back, win or lose, and he was just getting carries. But that changed in the middle of the season, and especially not lately. In the Week 16 game against Kansas City, just 14 carries. The Week 17 loss, Mixon had just 9 carries. So he's not a workhorse back in every situation now, and especially in losses. And if you think Houston's going to lose, Mixon could get phased out of this game. And last thing I'll mention, Kansas City, the numbers I already gave you suggest this, but they're a good, not like totally dominating, but they're a good run defense. Yards per carry allowed, 4th best. Yards after contact, 4th best. Missed tackles, 4th best. Rushing yards allowed, 8th best.
Okay. How about the Bills game? What do you want to do with Cook?
This is another under. I'm not crazy about Cook here, and I feel more strongly about this one. His line is 56.5 rushing yards. This is absurdly high. And by the way, it's been heading down. Jump in now if you like it. Only 2 runners topped this line all year against Baltimore. Just 2. And James Cook was not one of them in the earlier meeting when he only had 39 rushing yards. Now, Baltimore's been the league's most consistently good run defense all year long. Here's some ranks for you. Rushing yards allowed, 1st. Yards per carry, 1st. Run defense success rate, 2nd. Yards after contact, 1st. That's Baltimore. And that brings me to this point. Opposing runners tend to have massive dud games against the Ravens. Here's some recent history for you. Najee Harris last week ran for 17 yards. That's 44 yards under his average. The week before that, Dante Foreman had 27 yards, whatever, he's terrible. The week before that, Joe Mixon, non-terrible, 26 yards against Baltimore. That was 52 yards under his average. And the week before that, again, Najee Harris, 42 yards, 19 yards under his average. So not only are running backs struggling, but they're posting really bad numbers. I don't think you can generally ladder down, right? I mean, if I could ladder down James Cook, I would. And maybe you can find ways to get under this 56.5 rushing yards. And, you know, there's a scenario here where James Cook is sitting at, 29, 39 yards. And that would be in play here.
Want to hear the angle on Ty Johnson? What do you want to do with him?
Oh, I'm really excited about this. First, I wish I could bet Ty Johnson other ways. The only thing I can do are touchdown bets. If you can find Ty Johnson receiving bets, take the over. I don't know what it is, whatever the line is. I mean, look at the line, evaluate it, but lean over here, okay? We're going to work with what we have, which is Ty Johnson to score the last touchdown at plus 3,300, 33-1. Here's why. Ray Davis is in the concussion protocol. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to go. And that, with Ray Davis out last week, Ty Johnson, a career-high 33 snaps with the Bills. Johnson also set a season high with 16 routes run last week. And if you think there's any scenario where the Bills are not just running out the clock at the end of the game, again, we're looking for the last touchdown scored. So that would be like either this is a back and forth battle, the Bills are passing at the end of the game, probably a shootout given the total here is so high, or the Bills are playing catch up, which is possible. Ravens are favored. Then passing at the end of the game is absolutely in play for the Bills and Ty Johnson. And he's emerged as their passing down back. James Cook has been on the field in long down and distance situations, just 2 snaps since week 8. All the rest of the work goes to Ty Johnson, who's been on the field in long down and distance situations, 132 snaps. And the kicker, I'll give you on all this. Ravens allowed the 4th most receiving yards to runners this year, so they can get beat through the air by running backs. Ty Johnson, last touchdown, plus 3,300.
That is dynamite. We don't have time to expand on this, but you like Terry McLaurin to go over his receiving yards.
I do in this one. And also Diami Brown is an interesting one as well. Take a look at both here. There are a lot of trends that I like.
Okay, excellent. Follow him on X. He's at Paul Charchian. That was awesome, my friend. Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, friends. Yep.
Coming off of, I think it was 6-2. I want to say, in the wild card weekend with us here. Up next, win some, lose some, and we're going streaking tonight. Massive NHL card. 11 straight games now. This is cashed. We're back, baby.
Got a good thing coming. Just wait and see. It's a good.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network. last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
All right, there you go. The Pink Box Parlay. NHL, Oilers goal in the first 10 on the road, 17-2 run, took 3 minutes. Sabres goal in the first 10 at home, 15-2 run, took 40 seconds. There you go.
Yeah, there's a Pink Box directly across from Circa outside here in Fremont Street.
Cleans up. Makes a ton of money.
My God. The offerings, though.
Yes.
I cut out donuts a long time ago. I love them, but I cut them out. 13 for like $18. They're gigantic. Brought them. The crew loves them. Have you had one yet?
Not today, but they are
back there.
the real deal.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. All right, college hoops. Come on, Utah State. What happened? UNLV 2-1 with the upset in the late game. Texas plus 175. Raptors plus 650. Blown out. They blew out the Celtics, who lost again.
By the way, no fluke. Watch the game. The Raptors led the entire time.
Yeah.
The Celtics just have to be a team that's like, okay, we won the title last year. We know how good we are. We're going to flip that switch come playoff time, and hopefully for them it can work out.
Yeah. Subscribe, be part of the team, VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. Did a little tribute yesterday to Cookie Jar. We lost the lounge legend. It used to be Cookie Jar and the Crumbs when he played at the old Continental. Had a tanning bed in his house. Loved the Eagles. We'll play tribute to Bob Uecker coming up later in the show as well. But he was awesome. And he'd headline on the weekends at night at Harrah's Carnival Court. Rest in peace, Cookie Jar. So you sent this in, volume all the way up. We have a dog.
And so they think that you sound like turkeys and a dolphin. Some people said
that's incredible.
Some people said you have to let me speak. I didn't say this. They did. I didn't say this. They did.
Never heard that before.
Is that a bully or a pit?
Yeah, some sort of combo there, I think. Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Great call by her. It's a combination of like a turkey call and a dolphin.
It is. That is nuts. We'll put that up there at Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. Excellent sending that in. Got a guy ticked off here, no dinner? Guy upset? Oh, yeah. Look at the bulldog. What gives? Come on. Throwing a temper tantrum. Look at this. I'm hungry. I said I'm hungry. He's stomping on the ground. Enough already. 4. Oh, now he does, yes. 4 times he stomps on the ground and then goes away, and that's enough.
He's like off the top rope.
Yeah. Come on. Look at that. I want my dinner. Come on. I've asked all night. Look at this. How about the end? Give me one more. Yeah, okay, that's it. I better know. That's awesome. He is ticked off and hungry. Lose some. No Trae Young, no problem. Bulls from 2 up to 6. Routed 110-94. Rockets Nuggets under 233 down to 224. 128 to 108. Bet for the books. Hawks Bulls under 245.5 to 235.5. Big with no Trae Young, not even close. Rockets +1 to -5.5. I should have saw that coming. That Joker wouldn't play on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Then the young team. Rockets 128 to 108. Hornets +1 to -5.5. They covered. College hoops. Southern Illinois +4.5 to 1.5. And Houston, they won outright. Houston 121 up to 124. It fell 124. A bad beat. 76ers and under. They're down 5 late. Then they tied. It goes to overtime. They were getting 5.5. The Knicks covered in overtime. Unbelievable. Getting ready for big game 59 with a big deal to match. Save $59 off the VSiN Pro annual subscription when you sign up. Promo code FTM. Every best bet, every host, every guest. The betting splits, DK and Circa. Always a dog videos, dolphins, turkeys. There you go. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code FTM. So we talked about this with Johnny Vodka when Derek told that incredible story. And then do you know with Johnny Vodka with the bad beat where Johnny cashed out 5 weeks into Survivor and they ended up winning? A lot of people sent this in. We had the story in the Bay Area where the guy had 10 guesses to retrieve his Bitcoin, and he had already used 9. This was last week. A judge in the UK rejected a $770 million Bitcoin hard drive recovery case. The judge dismissed a legal case filed by an IT engineer seeking to recover $770 million worth of Bitcoin from a landfill. The hard drive contains Bitcoin, which was mined in 2009. It was mistakenly disposed of and later found its way into a landfill. The authorities denied access to the dumping ground due to the hazardous nature of the area and environmental permit restrictions. Howell, 12 years later, still chasing the fortune. He mined 8,000 coins. In 2013, when it was valued at $13, he actually disposed of the Bitcoin drive with all the Bitcoin intact. Since he noticed the loss, he's consistently tried to redeem the drive from the garbage site. 12 years later, it's gone up almost 700,000 times and is optimistic he can find the drive. For more than a decade, he's attempted to recover, trying different negotiation tactics, how to access and get in the landfill. He says, I have a bot that can do it. I can do this. I can pull it off. I think I know where it is as well. The judge is not having it.
Well, that's idiotic to me. I would just tell the guy, okay, it's hazardous, but you're going to take your life in your own hands then. If you want to go to the landfill on your own, go ahead. I have no idea how this operates, but that would just, okay, you want to have at it? Fine. Go find your laptop. Go find the hard drive. But you're going to be the only person that can go in there and look for it. Take your bot. Take whatever you think you can come up with.
Give him a day.
And there you go.
He says he can do it.
You have 12 hours, whatever it is, bam.
All right.
Go for it.
Yeah.
How would you say no to that?
Oh, it's got to be sick.
How do you not understand what the guy's been going
I'm with
through?
you. Yeah, I'm with you. You know, it's like when, seal off the house in Breaking Bad when they're ready to cook.
Right.
Just let them put the hazmat suit on.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Hang out with Applebaum and go in there. Go in there for a day and see if he can do it. And he's damn right, whether it's a bot, he's got friends, an army, whatever. He'll be highly motivated. And if he says he can do it, he's got to be the sickest man in the world. 770
one of them
million.
for sure.
Yeah.
Have you bet the Blackhawks first period over tonight?
I did not yet, because this guy I got hockey coming out of my ears here.
That's okay. What we're leading into here.
Yeah.
I bet it over -135, and then I saw it came out other spots -118. So I bet it twice so far tonight. 11 straight overs for the Blackhawks in the first period. This is like, well, it's fitting because we're going back on Sirius XM channel 158 tomorrow, and back in the early Sirius XM days when the first period overs took off, that 1 year specifically, it was just incredible. And books couldn't catch up fast enough until they eventually did, and they were making these, for those of you who weren't around for that, they would make like first period totals on Lightning games, Blackhawk games, some other teams as well, over 1.5, as high as like -230, maybe -250. And then they adjusted to make them 2. And sometimes they were 2 over plus money, and they were still getting there. And it was such a popular thing. And now, we've been waiting ever since for something like this to come along. And I don't know, fingers are crossed here that this continues.
Okay. So you have that angle. Edmonton's on the road again. Goal in the first 10, 17-2 run on the road. Detroit, 13-1 run overall.
With goal in the first 10?
Yeah, they're in Florida. San Jose. Are they on the road? I thought they were on the road. Yes, 7-1 on the road, 24-8 overall. Philly, 9 in a row on the road. They're going to take on the Islanders. This is all goal in the first 10. You mentioned the Blackhawks, 11 in a row over first period. They're also 9-1 overall. The streak there on first 10. Seattle, 8 in a row. Rangers, 27-8 run.
Wow, okay.
Full game. Ottawa, 8 straight unders. Devils, 7 straight unders. Full game. Seattle, 9-2 overrun. Detroit, 7-1-1 overrun. We do not have the Sabres at home tonight. Okay.
By the way, that came in 43 seconds yesterday. The Edmonton goal was, I think, 3 minutes, 6 seconds into the game.
So not only is Philly also done it 9 in a row on the road, it's 18-4 overall. Chicago, they are on the road, though, tonight. Chicago is 13-2 on the road, goal in the first 10. And Detroit 13-1, as I mentioned, overall. Seattle 8 in a row, Philly 9 in a row.
Let me throw this at you.
Goal in the first 10. Okay.
Goal in the first 5. Circa is offering one game tonight. Blackhawks Predators over. Well, I'm sorry. A goal, yes, no. The yes is +180.
Goal in the first, okay.
I'm going to see if I can do a round. Should I try a round robin? We'll up it from Pink Box to, I don't know. We'll call it Saginow's Deli.
Let's do it. Also, Columbus is in action at home against the Sharks of the number 1 over team. I think it was what Jonathan Davis have, 27-12-1 run, something like that. Ridiculous what they've been doing all year. So we got a lot of these teams in action tonight. Let's cash some tickets. And it's back. We got a lot of teams. Kings, 5 straight unders as well. They're in Vancouver for the game.
I'm very excited about this. So I need to do Edmonton.
Yep.
I need to do Detroit, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Man, did you say Seattle is the other one?
Yep, Seattle 8 in a row.
Yeah, they'll let you do a round robin here.
The total in the Ottawa game is 5.5, 8 straight unders. The face painters are playing the Leafs, 5.5. Devils 7 straight unders. Worlds are colliding there though. Toronto 9-2 first 10. But maybe you get a quick one and that's it. Who knows?
Now we're having some fun here, but a 4-team parlay pays about 8-1 on those 4 teams we just talked about. I'll tinker, see what we can come up with maybe by the end of the show. Best bets in soccer, the Meatman Steve Wiss on the program coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.
Still